Hi, everyone. Good morning. Me and Noe will present today some of the things we've learned in Inessa's the Writing 3 course. Just for you to know, this is the last course in the writing section. So you have Writing 1, Writing 2, and the last but not least is Writing 3. So we'll present just now. I'll share my screen. Okay, can you see everything? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So we will start, of course, with the course as a whole, and then we'll go into smaller sections of it.
Yeah. No. Go ahead.
Okay. So the course. Can you just click on it? Okay. So we first want to talk about teach versus learn. Like Shiraz mentioned, this is the third kind of installment in the writing courses. In the first and in the second, we learned about how we learned to improve our own writing, about different kinds of writing, and we practiced it ourselves. And in this course, we learned more about how to teach writing. How do we improve our students' writing? How should we do it? The methodology of how do we implement what we learned so far within the classroom. So this is the uniqueness of Writing 3 within the series of writing courses.
Yeah, and as we continued to enrich our knowledge within writing as students and as teachers, we learned critical skills, critical thinking. This is a notion that we have experienced with Inessa throughout our 3 years with her. So in this course, it really gets another meaning because we really need to know how to be both proficient and critical in our writing, to know how to convey everything we wish to convey and how to read others' writings as well. So all of the critical skills, HOTS, we used HOTS a lot during this semesters, and we have developed this as well within our writing.
And then we move on to the advanced issues, which we talked about summarizing, paraphrasing, and plagiarism. So throughout the year, we talked about these are writing skills that the students need to learn, and we need to teach them. It is a life skill, not just an English skill, and they need to be explicitly taught how to do it, and they need to practice doing it. And then we had a whole section about plagiarism, as it is not necessarily talked about in school. At least I didn't come across it. I haven't come across it previously. And there are so many different kinds of plagiarism. You can even self-plagiarize if you took something of your own and used it a second time without changing it or without giving it the correct credit. And we need to know all of these kind of forms of plagiarism. Other than self-plagiarism, you have mosaic plagiarism, you have direct plagiarism. We really learned about the broad spectrum and how to recognize it and how to avoid it, so we could teach our students as well.
Yeah, so this is as far as the course, and we had this year we had like a special section that we took. It was a mini course from the ministry. And we had it like a segment of our course, and it was a course about how to use rubrics to improve our students' writing. So this was one of the, I think that I can talk on the behalf of both of us, one of the meaningful sections in Inessa's course, because it is really, really important and useful for us, both as students, because when we read the lecturer's rubrics, we need to know how to approach them and how to prepare our assignments accordingly. But now we learned how to build our own rubrics, how to create, how to assess writing in particular, and how to match the rubric to the writing task, because you have those uniform things that you have to assess within every writing task, which are the mechanics and the grammar and things like that. But in each and every writing task, you have different elements that you should assess. And in this mini course that we took, we both learned some theoretical materials about how to use and how to build rubrics and how to expand our knowledge in that instance. But we also experienced, we really, as you can see in this white box. This is one of my works in this micro course. And this and the section that you have there with all the marks, and this is a real exam that a student took, and I needed to assess it. And as you can see, I put there my criteria, and I explained why I assessed the course, the work in this way. And everything, of course, was examined according to the course's instructions.
We also talked about the very 4 core criteria, which is, of course, the context and the organization of the writing, the vocabulary, the language use, which is tenses, the order of the sentences, pronouns, and everything like that. And then, like Shiraz mentioned, the mechanics, which include the spelling, the length of the sentence, how is it logistically organized. And then, yes, we have these 4 main kind of categories, but like the third circle mentions, we need to match the rubric to the task. Yes, it's kind of a guideline, but we as teachers who build the assignment, we choose ahead of time what are we trying to test, what are we evaluating, and we match the rubrics to that. If we really want to see if the students have a broad vocabulary, then we will put more of an emphasis on that. And we also discussed if we should let the students know ahead of time what the rubrics are or not. Of course, at the end, with their grading and the assessment, we give them the rubrics so they are aware how they were evaluated. But we also discussed about, it's kind of a dilemma, should they know ahead of time or not? And we had some quite interesting discussions on the topic as well.
Yeah. And one of the things that we wanted to talk about in this presentation is the 6 thinking hats. In each course that we had with Inessa, we learned something that we can use afterwards. I mean, something that has an added value, and this one is really that one. So we have the 6 thinking hats strategy. So we will explain briefly about it, and then we will show you. We'll tell you what we did with it. So what is the 6 thinking hats? This is a thinking strategy. And as I told you before, we learned with Inessa a lot about critical thinking and thinking strategies and the way we can develop our thinking to be better in everything, in our speaking, in our writing, in everything that we do. So one of the strategies is the 6 hats thinking strategy. As you can see, we have here the 6 hats, and each hat represents a different way of thinking. So for instance, the yellow hat values the benefits and why something may work. So it's like a positive way of thinking. And as you can see, the blue hat, for instance, it manages processes. It thinks about the next steps, about action plans. So it's more of a practical way of thinking. So we took all of these hats, and first of all, we saw how to use them and what each and every one of them really means. And then I will explain to you.
And then we had several assignments about the 6 thinking hats. This is one example where Shiraz and I worked. We had these 4 pictures, and we had to evaluate who was telling the truth and who was lying just from looking at their how they are in the pictures. And we had to put on the different hats and kind of evaluate. So for example, the man in picture 1, we can see he has a hat, that he's sitting directly through the camera. And if I'm putting on the white hat, which is the fact, it looks like he is taking us head on, like he feels very comfortable in the situation. Or maybe we take on the girl in picture 3. She looks kind of red. It's kind of hard to tell, but we thought, let's put on the red hat, which is emotional, the first thing we feel when we look at her. So we thought if she's red, then she's frustrated, maybe she's nervous, maybe she's hiding something, perhaps she's lying as well. So this was kind of a running theme throughout Inessa's course. We also had other situations where we needed to reevaluate something, and we could always kind of said, okay, we look through this hat, let's say the yellow, but let's also look at it from a different perspective, maybe we missed something. And then, of course,
and don't forget the rubrics.
of course, we made our own rubrics for this as well. We needed to see, did we do everything? Did we cover everything? Did we have, did we pay attention to all of the pictures, all of the requirements, all of the hats? Did we analyze everything the way we were supposed to? And how are we evaluating ourselves through it? I mean, of course, the hats is kind of the main topic of these assignments. So we had to use all 6 hats for all 4 pictures. So this was the majority of our grading, in our opinion, because this was what we were asked to test.
Yes, and I will just add something that is not written or presented here, but in our final work for this course, we took a workbook of actual students, and we analyzed the exercises in the workbook according to the 6 thinking hats. So we tried to see what the author, the writer of the book, meant to do with those very exercises, what hat he meant to activate for that instance.
And we also had to come up with our own 6 thinking hats activity to add to the book. So not only we use the present materials in the textbook, but we can add to it and expand on it with our own experience.
And finally, we learned how we can use the hats in class. So we can ask for individualized viewpoints from students, and then we can see, I mean, we as teachers can see in our students the hat that they are using. We can divide the class into random combined groups just to see how those hats and how those perspectives combine and what comes out of it. We can ask for group opinions from specific viewpoints, so we can divide our students to small groups and say to them, so you need to think and act according to the white, you according to the yellow, and then see how they really implement the knowledge and take it, I mean, into action. And we can assign a spokesperson for a specific viewpoint. So really, all of this is about how the students are using the hats, how they can control their own thinking, because sometimes we just do things out of a habit. I mean, we just used to how we think, but now we're doing a kind of a metacognition process. We think about our thinking. So if we use this in class, we can really see our students think in various instances.
And it's also a tool for us. If we have a student who is less active in the lesson, we can say, okay, you're going to be the blue hat, take charge. He might not necessarily talk the most, but he has an important role. And once he feels like he has a part in the class, he's taking charge, he will get more and more involved. And then you can change the hats that he's using throughout the year. And really, it's also a tool to help the students get more creative, think from different perspectives, and participate more. It gives them the option of kind of stepping into different roles in a very safe environment.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you very much. Only now I realize how complicated your life was during the course. And now I understand why you are smiling. You're finishing it in the end. But you were thinking during the whole course. Thank you very much.